And we're live. That was perfect timing. Welcome to the Mighty. I am AnnMarie, known as Stupid on Breast Cancer and What Would You Miss? I'm with my pal Gabe, and we are going to chat today. And our topic of conversation is mental health, mental illness, however you want to word it, is not your fault. It's not a choice. And I think it's actually a really important topic. I was just sitting with someone today, and she was saying how you can't snap out of this. Like, it's not that easy. And if it was that easy, wouldn't we all snap out of it? Or wouldn't we all, choose to not have this? So Gabe, I don't know if you saw my recent video that I did on What Would You Miss, but I actually did talk about this. I saw a post come up and it said, happiness is a choice. And I was like, dude, if happiness was a choice, wouldn't I choose that? I would choose it. It doesn't. Now I do want to really get into this, because how I look at it is happiness is not a choice. Just like depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, bipolar, none of that's a choice. Neither is cancer. Like, I didn't choose to have cancer. Right. Those aren't choices. So before I dive into why I don't think happiness is a choice, what do you think of that statement?
Well, my gut reaction is that's bullshit. And I think that's my gut reaction to a lot of things, instinctually. But this does not, the statement happiness is a choice, that does not resonate with me. Mm-hmm. What does resonate with me is, for example, like, okay, you can't control what someone does to you, but you can control your reaction to that. You Absolutely. Can control what you say. Okay, but you cannot control being impacted by someone's behavior.
Absolutely.
You cannot control being the number of times that I have been emotional in the last couple days. I don't know if it's mood lability or the planets or whatever, but I have been really up and down a lot.
Yeah.
And some of it is because of stuff that's happening inside of me, mm-hmm. and some of it is a reaction to other people, right?
Sure.
And I can't control how that stuff makes me feel inside. I can control what I choose to say and how I choose to respond and what I choose to put back into that world or that relationship or that dynamic. But can I control and choose to be happy? Particularly in view of everything that's happening internationally, nationally, locally, globally, personally? No, I don't believe that.
Yeah, I totally agree. Now, to the flip side of that, I do think we can choose to add to our life to help us become a healthier person. I don't necessarily think that we need to try to strive to be a happier person, but healthier, definitely. And, those choices aren't always, I'm going to choose to have a positive attitude today. When I say the choice you're making to make yourself healthier, I mean, get out of bed and take a shower. That's a choice you made. Right. Your choice to get through the day and work really hard at pushing yourself to get through the day. That's a choice you made. I don't really believe that you can just flip a switch and choose to be happy. I think the old, fake it till you make it is crap. I mean, what does that do to us who are trying so hard to get to that happier place, and we can't get there? It makes it feel like a failure. I mean, it sets us up for failure. And I think that's a huge problem.
And the other thing it does, it sets you up for failure. And it also tells you must perform.
Right.
So fake it till you make it. What it's saying to you is fake it, keep going, keep performing, keep putting the mask on, keep smile through your pain. How often have we heard, that kind of horse shit talk, right? Yeah. How about let people in to what you're actually feeling? How about feel, and surround yourself with people who can take that and hold that for you. As opposed to just being like, well, you need to perform, you need to get through this day, you need to. Maybe you just need to feel what you're feeling.
So wait, what you just said is really important. While I know this conversation was going to be about mental illness is not your fault, this really plays into it.
We'll get there.
How no, it really this is a great piece. How do you justify or how do you recognize where you are feeling like you are a burden to somebody by telling them your pain that you're in, whether it be physical or mental, or how do you feel like you're sharing with them? So that's something I really struggle with, because if I have chronic illness, so I have physical pain, and I also have mental illness, so I'm screwed either way. So I have mental pain too, but sometimes I feel like, God, if I keep telling this person how I feel physically, mentally, I'm going to become a burden to them, and they're not going to want to open up to me. So I tend to retreat a lot. So how do I navigate that? That's like a real issue.
Okay.
And the solution is all on you. So you're going to solve the world's problem
Yeah.
in 20 minutes on the mighty.
Okay. All right. And go. Problem solving. Initiate. AnnMarie, first of all, I love you.
Oh, I love you too.
That's first of all.
Even though you like musicals.
Yeah, well, some. I don't like all musicals. That can be a whole other conversation. It's pretty nuanced. But here's my thought related to that. First of all, not everybody is in a place or a situation where they can handle whatever you want to give to them. Okay. Or they may be able to handle it Monday, but Wednesday things are piling up on them and they can't. So it's not a like, oh, I go to so-and-so because they're my go-to always, right? They can't necessarily be your go-to always, right?
You're so right.
But I think what's so important is to check in with your quote go-tos and be like, hey, I'm carrying something. It's really, really heavy. Are you in a place right now that you can hear me? Are you in a place right now that you can be with me? And they may say no, and that's okay. And that's a really beautiful thing. First of all, that you can go to them and ask, and also that they can say, no, not right now. I love you and I want to be that person for you, but right now I can't because of X, Y, and Z. Okay. So then maybe you hold on to that for a little bit more yourself, or you find someone else, or you find some alternative way to cope that doesn't involve someone else, whether it's journaling or it's going to the dump and throwing plates against the wall. I used to do that as a child, to get out aggression and stuff like that. But the other thing too, and you said this, how do you cope with the fact that, oh, I might be a burden to some other person? Give voice to that. I think sometimes like we sit and we go, like, remember in middle school when you were like, you're Italian. So it was like, oh, does Vincenzo like me? I wonder if he likes me. I wonder what he thinks of me. I wonder what. Just fucking ask him.
Right.
I wonder if I'm a burden to so-and-so. Oh, well, am I going to be a burden to them? I'm probably a burden to them. Just fucking say it.
Right. I totally agree.
I have this thought in my head. It's gnawing on my brain. I just have to ask you because I don't want you to reassure me and placate me and say, oh, poor baby. No, everything's fine. I really want to know, how does it feel when I come to you with stuff? Is this okay?
Right. So this actually, we can segue right into, I apologize. I had my comments off. I see the comments now, and we have some people talking about overthinking, and this slides right into this perfectly, because I can overthink white off of rice. I literally can. I can overthink the most mundane situation. I am an overthinker to the max. Anyone that knows me knows this about me. Overthinking is a struggle. It truly, truly is. And I want to say something. It's not that I so much have advice for someone who's overthinking. I always have to step back and try to rationalize the situation. Okay, I'm overthinking this, but in reality, let me remember X, Y, and Z first. However, here's my however. Your people in your circle that love you and honor you will help you through your overthinking. They will reassure you. They will not brush it off. They will not add to it. They will reassure you, because even though they may not understand overthinking, they love you enough to help you through that moment. And that is really, truly what has helped me. It's not so much me taking a step back and being like, okay, well, let me think about this. There's no way blah, blah, blah happened because of whatever the situation is. It really comes down to the people around me understanding that I'm an overthinker and making me just feel more safe and confident in my situation. And I know that's not a complete solution, but I think overthinking is something that a lot of people really struggle with. And I don't think other people who don't overthink understand the anxiety that goes around overthinking.
And there are no complete solutions, AnnMarie. We're not fucking gurus. We're
No.
not mental health. No one is paying like $20,000 to go sit in a room with me and listen to me, do some kind of like enlightened retreat or anything. Do you know what I mean? We're just people. We're just people struggling with the same stuff that you are. And there are no easy answers. There are no quick fixes.
No.
But what helps me, and this is really basically what you said, AnnMarie, just in a slightly different way. I am very, very, very blessed and fortunate, or whatever word you want to use, to be surrounded by people who I've either known for a very, very long time, or who have caught on very quickly to how my brain works.
Yeah.
Gay brain. And they get it. They know when I'm doing the thing where I'm like, oh God, well, what about this? And what about that scenario? Well, they get it.
Yeah.
So,
Too.
and I think you may be more understood by people than you think. It's pretty fascinating to me when people are able to have insight into things that I can't, because I'm way too caught up in the gears. You know what I mean? They can step back and look at it objectively. Oh, Gabe's doing his thing. I'm going to give him a little bit of space now to freak out and do his thing, and I'll reality test him a little bit, and in a gentle way and in a lovely way. And it's very helpful. It really is.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I have a girlfriend that when I tell her my scenario that I've concocted in my head, she'll actually say to me, "Are you freaking kidding me? Like, that is ridiculous." And that actually does bring me down a little bit. Won't work for everybody, but it definitely brings me down. Again, reading through the comments, there was someone up there that was talking about anxiety in toddlers. And I will tell you that I have 2 children that I noticed that they had anxiety at a very, very young age. And Gabe and I have mutual friends that are schizophrenic. Excuse me if I worded that incorrectly, but I'm not completely PC. And they said to me, and this is really important, it's really, really important. If you're noticing that your child has anxiety as a toddler, you're ahead of the game. It's not so much even, finding the solution for them. It's just the fact that you noticed it. So many parents aren't seeing that. They're saying, oh, they're having a temper tantrum, or, oh, they're just fickle, or, whatever the situation is, but you're actually noticing it. There are great platforms out there. Go Zen Kids is really great. Both my kids used it, for breathing techniques. You have to just keep trying and seeing what works, and you have to be super calm. And understand that there's certain things that are going to give them anxiety, and try to get ahead of it. So if you know that, for instance, my son, his socks had to go directly across his socks. If they didn't, he also has OCD. If they didn't, his anxiety went through the roof because he thought there was something wrong with his foot, and it would go into this whole thing. So I knew to buy socks that where the line would hit his toes the right way. So I tried to, stop it before he could get there. But you may not find any solution yet for that toddler. The point that you're recognizing it is huge. It is massive. Stay on top of it and create safe spaces. That is my best advice, because they're toddlers. The other part to that is they're growing, their bodies are changing, their hormones are changing. So any tool that might work for a year might change, because, toddlers are ever evolving, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and the only thing I want to add to that is, what you said about how sometimes parents don't see it. There are also parents who don't want to see it, and who they see it, but they're scared. or they're in denial. They make up stories. They want to push it under the rug and not deal with it because it's easier to not deal with it. Speaking from experience,
There's another
a
layer
little
there, though,
bit.
Dave. There's another layer. I
Yeah.
felt as though it was my fault that I
Yeah, of
did that
course.
to my kids. Like, there, I
Of course.
really did believe that because I have such anxiety. I was like, "Oh
It's
my
a
god,
reflection on you. Yeah.
yeah, this is hereditary. This is my fault," which goes into the topic of this chat. Mental illness is not your fault. Like, this is not. It's, it's our chemical makeup. It's, I read this great quote, post, whatever you want to say. It doesn't define us, but it does shape us.
Yeah.
So while it doesn't define us as a person, it does shape us into who we are. And I think that's okay. Like, we can accept the fact that we have anxiety or we have depression or whatever it is. Accept that is part of who you are. It just doesn't have to define you as a being.
Right. It's not the whole story.
Right.
It's not the whole story. I am more than a man. I am more than a Jewish man.
Wait,
I
you're a
am
man?
more than, well, I don't know, whatever. But whatever I am, that's what I am. But we're so multifaceted, and there's so many components that make up one human life. Why should you let your mental illness and your define you? It doesn't even make sense to me. And related to this the whole theme of this live of it's not your choice. It's not a choice. I spent 5 years working in a locked inpatient psychiatric hospital, and I'll be goddamned if these people
Absolutely.
chose that. If these people chose to have their shoelaces taken from them and their hoodie strings taken from them and their cell phone and their dignity and their freedom to be in this facility, and
Yeah. No.
that is just a completely illogical and incongruous to any kind of reality. So if you're sitting there blaming yourself and saying, "God damn it, this is all my fault. I wish. Why can't I just snap out of it? Why can't I just be different? Why can't I just know that there are people right now all across America and all across the world sitting on wood beds that are fixed to the floor, sitting
No
on
sheep.
stools that are screwed to the floor, wondering the same thing. And it is not a choice."
No. I mean, it's not a secret that I hospitalized myself about 9 years ago, and I definitely did not choose to do that. That was not. I mean, I needed to be there. That was a safe space for me, but I would never choose that for myself or for anybody. That was 100% not a choice that I ever made. And it really wasn't my fault. That is, not my fault. You have to remove the guilt from that. I think if you can let go of the guilt and the blame, you can understand that, this wasn't a choice. I mean, it just, this all goes in correlation with, self-harm. People are not choosing to self-harm. That's not a choice that they're making. I don't think I'm going to self-harm today. Or addiction, when you're an addict, you don't choose to be an addict. Yes, you make the choice to use a drug or to, become, an alcoholic. Those you do pick up that thing. However, you don't really choose that type of path. There's something underlying that has made you get there.
Right.
And that's really the base of it. We need to look at all of these things, addiction as an illness. It is 100% an illness. I really don't want to debate that in this forum. I just need people to understand that the person who's going through it, they don't choose to hurt the people that they love. They're trying so desperately to self-destruct. And there's more than likely there's an underlying, cause there. I had someone recently say to me that she believes that her sibling is an addict, and they said that they just like the way it feels. And I said, coming from someone in recovery, I can tell you right now, it's more of the numbing that they like.
Yeah.
It's the feeling of, I can let this go. I don't have to think about it. And that's the feeling that you like. It's not, facing your problems is really hard when they're deep rooted and not just, oh crap, I forgot freaking flour at the grocery store. That's not the basis of, people living with mental illness. It just isn't.
It's incredibly painful for me to hear and to know that there are people out there judging folks who are living with mental health challenges, folks who are living with addiction, even judging people who take their own lives. This stigma surrounding suicide, that suicide is selfish. You hear it all the time. You hear it all the time.
I'm so glad you are starting this conversation because it goes perfectly with mental illness is not your choice.
Absolutely.
Suicide is not, I mean, suicide is trauma. Again, I just did another video on What Would You Miss, literally about this. And not that I want to pat myself on the back, but I think I'll pat myself on the back.
I'll do it. Where are you?
Depression is an illness, okay? It is an illness. And when you reach the point of suicidal ideations, you are in the final stage of that illness. That is where you feel you have no other way to go. We have to get the people before they get to that spot, 100%. And we need to, it's trauma. When someone dies by suicide, that is traumatic. It is traumatic for them and for everybody around it. And it's actually a loss to our society because we are not understanding the world of mental health enough to see that depression, suicidal ideations, severe mental illness is an actual diagnosis that can get to a final stage.
Well, and there's just so much that, in the suicide prevention community that isn't known about suicide, period. I was just reading a piece in the New York Times about there was this sculpture that was just shut down permanently because there was a third suicide there in a year. And it was this kind of architectural staircase sculpture that was built, and it was really cool and beautiful, but it was really, really high. And the guardrails were like kind of waist height. And someone said, like, you build something that high, people are going to jump. And now all of a sudden, it's closed. And now all of a sudden they're consulting with suicide prevention experts. And now it's like, we don't get it. There's so much that we don't get. And that whole notion of once you are at that brink of taking your own life, it is almost not a choice anymore. Right. You're past that.
It's a final stage of an illness. I mean, when someone has end-stage cancer, we don't say, oh, well, they chose that. They chose to die. I mean, we don't say that. Mental health issues, depression, PTSD, anxiety, all of that, they are illnesses. And you get to that point, especially because, someone was talking about COVID in the chat there. And not that I really want to get into a whole COVID conversation, but COVID has changed mental health dramatically. It's changed it because we're not going to our therapist as much. We're not going to group sessions because they don't exist. Maybe we're doing a Zoom group session and you don't really see the person. I mean, you have no idea if I have taken a shower today, if I have pants on, if I've eaten. You have no idea my true mental state that I am in unless you see that person physically. That is just true. I can fake this if I wanted to. We do not know what the ramifications around mental health with COVID are going to be. And I saw somebody in the post there comment about how they're nervous they're going to get COVID going to a mental hospital, which I hate the way that sounds, but I am more nervous about your mental being than you getting just COVID, because your mental health is just as important as your physical health. Now, nobody throw me any hate or shame. I'm not saying COVID is not real. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is we are not looking at the two either together or separate, because let me tell you, everyone, sooner or later, COVID will pass to the point where we're living our lives back to normal. We will not see the effects of mental health for at least 2 years after that. And guess what, folks? It will be too late if we don't start doing something now, right now.
It's absolutely true. And you, not you, or you, the commenter, the royal you, need to be taking care of the whole of yourself. Okay. It's not just what can I do to avoid getting COVID-19. It's what can I do for the whole of me? How can you keep your creativity going? How can you keep your stability? How can you keep your mental health on track? And let me tell you something. If you are at the point where you are feeling unsafe, where you're feeling like you might be a danger to yourself or someone else, you better get yourself to a psychiatric hospital. And I can only speak for the psychiatric hospitals, one that I used to work at and another that I still work closely with. They are taking every possible precaution that they can.
Right.
My wife just got her vaccine. She works with children. She said no, and there was a whole mess of people from the psychiatric hospital there getting vaccinated. So they have all their protocols in place. They have their cleaning protocols in place. They're doing what they can do. A lot of groups are suspended, but it's still that safe environment where you are going to be kept safe from yourself. There's really no other way to say it. So to say, well, I'm scared about, I understand that, but if that's where you need to be, that's
Right.
where you need to be.
You need to be safe just as much as you need to be physically healthy.
Or forget COVID. It won't matter if you're getting COVID because you might do something to yourself.
Right. Exactly. I actually have been pretty upset with how our society, our school systems, our job placements, everything has been dealing with the mental health aspect of COVID, because in these comments, at least 5 or 6 people wrote that they're scared, not just to get COVID, but different effects of it. People are scared to go out of their house. People are, they're isolated. I mean, there is so much invested in this. People are drinking at an exorbitant rate right now. I mean, substance abuse disorder is at an all-time high. Eating disorders are at an all-time high. Abuse is at an all-time high. We need to start looking at the mental health of our world. We need to, because we can't afterwards say, oh, that was terrible. I can't believe that we didn't do anything about this. And not to throw, Gabe and I both have these things about, positive quotes, but this probably isn't a positive quote, but I think it's a great quote. And it kind of goes along with what we were just talking about. Your people around you, even though you sometimes feel like you're a burden to them and that they would be better off without you, will 100% want to hear you tell them that you have something going on and you need help than to listen to anything at your funeral. 100%. You can come to me and say that you don't have any friends, that there's nobody around you that supports you. I believe in my heart that there's people that love and support you. It's very hard to see that sometimes when you're at your lowest point. I know I've been there. I truly believed in my heart that my family and friends would have been better off without me, which is now a ridiculous statement when I say it out loud. I will tell you that we want to hear you. We want to hear that you're struggling. And Gabe, I loved what you said in the beginning of this. If there was a twofold there. If you reach out to that person that your go-to and you say, look, I got a heavy load. Can I dump on you? And they say, I'm sorry, I'm carrying some heavy shit right now myself. I can't. That's a beautiful friendship. Like, that is so beautiful to me.
Yeah.
That you both can do that for each other. And honestly, if I came to you and you said that to me, it almost might put me in perspective a little bit, because I want to point something out. If I were to message Gabe and say, hey, Gabe, I got some heavy shit going on. Can you help me? And he comes back with, I can't, AnnMarie. I got too much going on right now. I want to, but I really need to focus on me. I may turn it and open up a door and listen to him. And when we help other people, we really do help ourselves 100%. Because when we listen to somebody else's story, we're not just validating what they're going through, their existence, we're validating our own, because we can relate to them on such a true, authentic level.
It's very vulnerable, and
Yes.
that's what we need in human relationships and human connectivity. And I think it also shatters the myth that, well, there's people who have their shit together and then there's people who don't. and that's bullshit, because nobody has their shit together. There are people who maybe be better at pretending or keeping it together, keeping the appearance up. But AnnMarie coming to me and then I'd be like, oh my God, I can't, I want to, but I can't. That communicates to her, oh, Gabe always seems so placid, and I don't, but seems so placid, seems so with it. He's got the family and the dogs and blah, blah, blah. Oh, he's also got heavy shit going on too.
Right.
Oh, that's good to know.
So there's two things I want to say. And one is to what you just said. I will tell you, when I hospitalized myself, yes, I saw a lot of things that were very scary and it was very eye-opening to me. But I also realized something. And my biggest takeaway from this was It doesn't matter where I come from, doesn't matter my socioeconomic, it doesn't matter my ethnicity, my gender, nothing. Everybody suffers from a mental illness. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter. There's no discrimination here. You could be a CEO of a company, or you could be, living in the projects. It doesn't matter. You both can still go through depression, anxiety, PTSD, the whole 9 yards. That is my first point. My second point is to what Tommy Lee said, and it's one of my favorite statements. People who are suicidal do not want to die. They don't. They want that pain to stop. They want that pain to stop. The pain is what they want to stop. But when you're suicidal, your brain twists and turns things and makes you feel like what you want to do is die. And this is part of our problem in our society because we're so scared to say that sentence. We're so scared to say the word suicide. Like it's going to, spontaneously combust. Does that make sense?
Got it.
Anyways, we need to say that. Say it out loud. You don't want to die. You want the pain to stop. If you can say that to somebody, that is a really profound statement. And you really are expressing exactly what so many of us who have been suicidal have exactly felt.
And I heard it as a staff member, I heard it time and time again. Once people were stabilized on medication, fourth, fifth, sixth day in, approaching discharge, leaning up against the wall of the hospital with my clipboard in my hand, talking to folks about how they're feeling now. And that sentence, I didn't actually want to die. I just wanted that pain to stop. And so your suicidal brain in the throes of that says, this will make it stop. And, and it's such a horrible, insidious whisper that it tells you. It can be very seductive. And if you can reach out for help, if you can accept help, if you can accept the fact that, as AnnMarie was saying earlier, that there are people who love you and that there are people who want you here and that there are people who will listen to you and people who want you to stay to help you get through that feeling, that's the most human, incredible, beautiful thing ever. And the last thing I want to say is, as AnnMarie said, you can be in a group at a psychiatric hospital with a CEO of a pharma company, with an attorney, with a homeless person, with a school teacher, with a college student having their first psychotic episode. Right. It is the whole mix of human life because anybody and everybody is susceptible, including the staff. Yeah. And that's so important because we are told during orientation, you wear your therapeutic mask and you don't disclose because this is it's a very emotionally fraught environment. And patients look to staff to be the rock and to be steady. And you don't if you want to break down, you better break down in the chart room away from people. And we did. But I just want people to understand that the staff are dealing with mental health challenges of their own as well.
So the Mighty did a great job and took the camera off me right at the right time. You made me cry again because I felt exactly that. When I got to my balanced place, I was like, holy crap, I didn't want to die. Like, that's not what I intended. Just wanted this pain to stop, which brings me to another point that I have to add to this. And it actually loops everything right around to what we're talking about. You may be okay today. Today, you may say to yourself, yeah, I don't want to die. I just wanted this pain to stop. Tomorrow, you may wake up in pain and you may have those thoughts come rushing back in again. Mental illness as a diagnosis is not a cure necessarily, okay? And maybe someone's going to argue that too, but it's something you have to work at all the time. And it can, it can come and go. It can ebb and flow. Some days you're going to have good days. Some days are going to be in the shitter. And that was an important part for me to understand because, I've been dealing with this since I was very young. I have tried twice and hospitalized myself and had a really good stint for a while, got cancer, got MS, and, then was smacked again with depression at a high level. And I then got to the point where I could see the cues and the triggers and all of that. But I wouldn't have done that if I hadn't educated myself and learned, from my own mistakes and my own trips that I had in life, so to speak. So my point is that it wasn't my fault. That wasn't my fault. Mental illness was never my fault. Okay. And some days are going to be good and some days aren't. And I guess that's all I really have to say about that. But Gabe, we're going to end it like I always want to end it with a what would you miss? Because I think while we are talking about the fact that we need different ways to help ourselves, right? So what's going to work for me today might not work for me tomorrow. You said, journaling. If that friend can't help you, take out a journal or go for a walk or throw plates. And what would you miss has really helped me because I created it because I needed to not feel guilty. I needed to not think, well, what's wrong with me? Why am I having these suicidal thoughts if I have I have great kids and I have a job and I have a house and I have family and my dad's great and my sister's awesome and I got cousins out the yin yang. Why do I feel this way? There must be something wrong with me, because then that guilt sets in. But what would you miss? It was about me. And that's where we lose. That's what we lose in this mental illness world of ours, right? We lose ourselves a little bit. We got to find ourselves, right? So I realized that there was things about myself that I would miss if I wasn't here. And I really would miss it. And one thing I would honestly miss is being ridiculously inappropriate with you. I mean, I know we've said it a lot that when we first met, we were like, oh, I was like, he's a pompous little ass. And you were like, she's a loud mouth. But then we realized we're the best of friends and we could be completely inappropriate with each other. And we totally got each other's jokes. And I would miss having a connection like that with somebody. I would really miss that.
I was thinking so we got on, 15 minutes before this and it was just mayhem. And I was like, God, they should just put the camera on, because I love us. I really do. And AnnMarie, to be perfectly honest with you, there's a piece of me that gets a little bit scared of these things, because it's live and it's pressure and it's like, everything is a performance. Everything that you do in front of a camera is a performance. And, these are kind of like amped up slightly versions of ourselves. Mm-hmm. And you get like worked up before it. It's, when I did theater, it's the same. You're backstage and it's like, oh my God, you can hear them milling into the theater and it's happening. Right.
Yeah.
But so that feeling also coexists with, I would so miss this time with you. I love to have this time with you.
I totally agree. I mean, and I could be having a really crappy day and being able to sit down and talk to you like this grounds me. It makes me, and I would miss that so immensely if I wasn't here or if you weren't here. So circling back to all of this and what Gabe had said about reaching out to a friend, using what would you miss is a great tool. Send someone a message, let them know that you would miss something about them. Let them know that their existence matters to you. It doesn't matter if you know that they're struggling or you don't know. It's really good to know that somebody would miss you. I mean, they would really miss you. And I think just spreading a little bit of that around, sprinkling it here and there could really make a difference. You never know. And you know what? Yeah. Shit, what else we got to do? We're all stuck anyways at home. So send a bunch of texts and let people know you would miss them. I will tell you, one day I was like, I need people to send me what they would miss about me. I can't wait to watch my phone blow up. Not one freaking person texted me.
Oof.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I know I didn't. When was this?
It was a while ago. I don't care. I'm totally joking around, but I did crack up. I was like, where the hell are all the what would you misses about me? I'm just kidding. Well, I hope you have a great day, regardless of anything that's going on in the world. I said to my kids this morning, I said, good morning. I hope you find some unicorns and rainbows. So I hope everyone finds unicorns and rainbows.
If you find them, let me know where they are, please. I'd love a unicorn and a rainbow, or a unicorn farting a rainbow even. That would be great.
Or burping, either or.
Sure.
Anyways, but unicorn farts must smell really good.
It must smell amazing.
It must smell like sprinkles.
Oh, cinnamon sprinkles.
Cinnamon. Ugh. Rainbow sprinkles, you fool.
Okay. Rainbow isn't a flavor or a scent?
It totally is. Rainbow sprinkles are a scent.
What?
I'm telling you, rainbow sprinkles are a scent. I'm mailing you rainbow sprinkles now. That's it.
I can't wait.
Anyways, thanks everyone.
Bye.